there is a significant gap between what the management believes is under control and the facts.
If I report an incident, I could affect our bonus tomorrow. So we've perversely incentivized a culture of undercover.
You need to be really honest with yourself about where you are, what your current reality is, yeah? Not where you want to be, but where you really are.
We still warn our workers of oncoming trains with a man called a lookout with a flag and a horn. Okay, that's how basic our safety protection measures are in terms of engineering. So safety from within each and every one of our workers is actually the only way we can make an immediate impact on our safety performance.
This year, the theme is Safety Comes From Within. We have, in the organizing committee, chosen this theme in order to be able to focus more on the individuals.
When I hear Finn talking about safety coming from within and about the importance of the individual, I was beginning to learn about that when I was starting to work in Formula One from meeting people like Jackie Stewart and wondering why they were so evangelical about safety. And it was because they had personally experienced the downsides of our industry. That was when we drew a line in the sand and said, we cannot continue to do this. We need to change. And it needs to be from the top down and the bottom up, and it has to be everyone. And we've got to find a way. We are clever people. We are, my goodness, how clever are we? Look at the technology we can produce. If we can produce this technology, surely we can produce the safety that goes hand in glove with that. And so we began to change products, how we design a car. Let's design a car for an accident. Let's redesign the infrastructure within which our employees are operating, the racetracks of the world. And when we have an accident like this is Robert Kubica in 2007. This is 4 impacts. He hits the back of a Toyota, he hits one wall, he hits a second wall. This is the worst kind of incident that you can have in a Formula One car. And he survived. He walked away from that accident. So we've found a way to stop killing our drivers through technology, through systems, through infrastructure, through training, through urgent emergency response. What we have found really interesting is that the more we have looked at the detail of improving systems and safety, we've also been able to, in parallel, improve performance. Because we've had the confidence to go further, to go faster, because the safety is the foundation of what we're doing.
What I admire about that culture is that they still have a lot of risk, but they manage to do it safely.
It's great to hear somebody's kind of spin on a solution, and it gets you kind of a reality check and see where you are from that and what can you do and what can you do differently.
I think what resonated with me is some of the stories of how do we work with the contractors, how much, while trying to do the right thing, we impose a lot of bureaucracy out of them. And as a result of that, we're actually harming safety.
We actually managed to set so many bureaucratic rules that we made it impossible for our people even to look to comply. And all they could do was complain. Or say, I followed the last rule you told me about. I didn't know about the other 6.
We don't need lots more procedures. We need quality procedures. One set of quality procedures. Get the guys to review it. Get them to go through the procedures. Let them. And when they do that, they buy into them and they comply. They follow them.
We looked at all of our accident data from significant and fatal incidents over the last 12 years. We then consulted with 1,500 of our workforce and said, so how would we prevent these every time? What are the simple things we need to do to make this happen safely every time? And in that, we came up with a suite of 11 non-negotiable rules These will never be compromised upon.
The life-saving rules are about being open and honest with each other.
And learning from experience.
Good and bad.
Meaningful employee engagement, which is a lot different than just showing the guys a couple of safety videos, sending them through safety training, putting them through an induction process and saying, get on with it.
As verification body in this industry, we need to be on top of what is of concern for the contractors and the operators. So it's very important for me to sort of keep an eye on what is going on.
I'm going to talk about safety leadership in the context of a change journey, where we were, where we wanted to be, and how we transitioned from one to the other. So thinking about safety leadership and it as a change journey, I think there are three things that you really need. The first is a robust understanding of your current reality. And that needs to be where you really are and not where you think you'd like to be. Secondly, you need to create a vision of where you want to be. And thirdly, you need to put in place structures and mechanisms to get you there.
Some of the questions we need to ask ourselves, again, what's driving improvement, is that we recognize that leadership is helping set the tone, the vision, and the expectation for organizations to get better. And the question we have to ask ourselves is, are we preparing leaders to be safety leaders?
We find that transactional leadership has a direct impact on levels of safety behavior. It has a direct impact on employee engagement, as does transformational leadership. The interesting one is servant leadership. And we've got quite a strong, much stronger relationship from facilitation to developing a supportive environment, which in turn has a bigger impact on bringing about employee engagement rates. But then came the bad news. We found that the hazards and risks you have in the working environment appears to neutralize or suppress the effects of safety leadership. It kills the supportive environment you're trying to create. It reduces employee engagement. It reduces levels of safe behavior and increases the incident rate.
This happened during wireline operations in Chad. They were running out a logging tool out of the hole, and the logging tool got stuck in a BOP, and then they were rising and increasing the tension above the breaking point or the weak point of the wireline, and you can all see the result. Every 30 minutes, a human being makes an error. In a stressy situation or when conditions have changed, this rapidly decreases to 30 seconds, from 30 minutes to 30 seconds. So therefore, you have to slow down, to raise your concentration, to define the next steps with your work team, and then work safe.
There's still a feeling amongst quite senior people in lots of organizations, despite the fact that you can put loads of evidence on the table, as I have done here, that somehow well-being and performance are in conflict with each other. In other words, if you improve the well-being of your workforce, there'll be a compensating hit in terms of their performance, and it will go down.
It seems to a lot of us that it is utterly self-evident that higher levels of involvement equal lower levels of risk and accidents and productivity. And as Ivan has made the case, high levels of well-being at work, the same. So the question for you at your tables, if you could just take 5 minutes to discuss this, please, is why isn't everybody doing it? Striving to maximize workforce involvement and maximize workforce well-being.
There has been eye-opening presentations this year, so it's absolutely great.
This year it's going to level up, both for the speakers that were here and also the companies this year. So I think it's getting better and better.
And the conversations we have now every day is to go into a buyer and say, when you make the decisions to only give that contractor 10 hours to do that work, or when you make the decision to let all the work in winter because it's the end of the control period, what impact are you having on the frontline workers and their ability to comply with these life-saving rules?
The amount of serious incidents reported has dropped from 300 a year to 100. That is a significant improvement.
I walked in, and I'd gone about 10 feet, and a Filipino worker walked up to me and said, "Look, I'm sorry, you're not allowed in here with dark glasses. You're going to have to leave." And I was about to say, "Don't you know who I am?" And suddenly I thought, we've done it. We have now created an environment where actually that's possible. A worker can walk up to, and let's be honest, a white manager and say, "You're breaking the rules, not in here."
If you're not authentic about it, people see it immediately and people won't follow you. So it has to come from within.